Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Movie Battleground, but not the movie Battleground you thought you were getting. Uh, we're just here to shoot the shit. My name is Aaron Knoll. I am the host and producer behind Movie Battleground. I am joined by Madi Raymond, one of the members of our hosting team here. Uh, we're just here to shoot the shit, kill a little bit of time. I have a couple of things to talk about, bring up things that it may be important in terms of some sense. But this is just kind of a fun thing. If anybody tunes in live, a couple of people behind the scenes on our team have the access link. They may hop in if they free up. If not, it'll just be the two of us shooting the shit. I'm sure we can make an hour or something out of this. But if you're watching live while this is live streaming, if at any point you have any questions, feel free to comment them. If I see them and I take a second, I can address them if I feel it's relevant. But we're just kind of here to shoot the shit. First thing, order of business, I guess, to talk about is why is this happening instead of you guys getting a title match? Because today was supposed to be the title match. In addition to, we still have Richie versus Jake, which we're airing before the title match, and neither of those are up. And the answer is, I've had a hell of a week. This last week has both been awesome and sucked. The fact that I got every other match out this week is a testament to how much I actually did try to complete the matches. Because for starters, the first half of the week, from 4 a.m. Monday morning through to Wednesday, I was fucking out of it because I'm pretty sure I got food poisoning.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, no, it was so what I think happened was on Sunday, all I ate was half of a small pizza. And I was out in the afternoon and I got an icy, and that icy was bad. It was rank. It was something was off with the thing in the machine. I don't know if it was they hadn't cleaned it or it was just expired, but I stopped drinking it halfway through. It was too late. I didn't eat anything for the rest of the day because my stomach felt bad. And then I woke up the next morning and I wake up at 4 a.m. and I wake up because I set an alarm to get ready for work. And I'm oh, we just picked up viewers for us. I'm talking about this. This is great. I wake up mid choke on throw up. And it's all I had the day before was half a pizza. So it is very quickly just stomach fluid, essentially. It's just fucking, it was beautiful. So that was my Monday. That's what I did on Monday.
Okay.
And then what wound up happening was, because I was so tired from being sick all morning, I didn't eat anything Monday. So I get to Tuesday and I wake up and it's okay, now I'm not throwing up, but I'm dizzy all day because I didn't eat anything all of Monday. Yeah. All I did was just sleep and feel sick. So now I'm disoriented and dizzy, and yeah, it was a shitty couple of days. I made up for it in time though, because come Thursday I was feeling fine enough. So I did the best thing that you could do after feeling sick and disoriented for a couple of days, and I saw Avatar in 3D. In 3D.
Because I made a great idea and a terrible decision at the same time.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. It was great. The best part was it was at a dine-in theater that my buddy gets a half-off discount at. So of course I ate.
And you were just
I was just hey, let's see how Friday goes.
Yeah. So, oh my god.
Yeah, no, I'm fine now. Thank God. It was just that. But yeah. So did you get a chance to see it?
No. I was maybe gonna see it yesterday, and then I realized I couldn't remember what happened in the first movie. Because I saw the first movie in theaters when it first came out.
Right.
And then I had no interest in seeing it again. I didn't hate it. I was just all right, the visuals were cool, but I'm not really that impressed with the rest of it at that point. Yeah. So now I'm I should probably rewatch it before I go in, because I don't want to go in and didn't that guy die or so I don't know how confusing it's going to be if I don't remember the first one. So I do want to rewatch the first, and then I realized it was 3 hours. I was that's a lot to put in.
Yeah. So I saw the first one. Jake is correct. Pocahontas happened. That is what
right.
happened.
Yeah, I remember.
It's Pocahontas.
Yeah, it's Pocahontas, except they're all blue instead of brown for some reason.
So yeah, Avatar. First off, I seeing the first one will probably help, but for what it's worth, Chris did ask what I thought of the movie. I'll say something very briefly, spoiler free. So the movie opens, and this is more a warning than anything, with essentially a 30-minute exposition dump. Like there's basically a whole prologue prior to the movie starting, which was actually
it's really, like what happened last season, except last season was what
13 years ago. Well, it's what happened last season. So Cameron made a comment in the press for this movie where he was like, yeah, like I wrote a whole script and then I didn't think it was good enough, so I threw that script out. And then that comment paired with, I think it was Zoe Saldana, said something along the lines of, yeah, like the first thing we did when we started shooting this movie was Cameron gave us like a totally different script that like fills in the backstory of the transition. So I'm pretty sure this exposition dump is just that script he threw out, just condensed as much as possible.
In 30 minutes, just did a full short film at the beginning of.
Essentially, yeah.
Wow.
You'll know when it stops because it does the classic cinematic thing of cut to black 1 year later.
God. Okay.
Which is great. It was nice. It was like a warning that, oh, okay, the movie's beginning now, which was nice. And it was great in our theater because the whole setup, because this theater we went to, my buddy works at, they only have one 3D theater. And clearly, in an attempt to set up the 3D theater, shit got fucked because at first there was no audio. Like the entirety of the pre-show, there was no audio. And then they got the audio running. And it wasn't until, because obviously you're not going to notice this till the 3D starts.
Yeah.
The last trailer that before the movie began was a Mario trailer. And for some reason, that trailer was in 3D, but it was hella unfocused. And so immediately you're like, before the movie's even begun, you're like, oh shit, the 3D's fucked.
Yeah.
And the way that this theater's technical support works is because, like, I've spoken openly. I used to work at the AMC in Disney Springs, for anyone that's Disney shopping center. And there you can control everything, like in person. You can just go upstairs to a control panel. There's a master computer. You can do everything from inside the building. This place essentially has a third-party tech support that you have to call. They have to adjust it from somewhere else, and you just have to talk to them and explain what's happening.
That's so dumb.
And so eventually they did get it fixed. So I guess to answer the question, Brian asked, how is the 3D? I do think the 3D is worth it. And I didn't see it in IMAX. I just saw it in a normal 3D theater, but I do think the 3D looked really good. Once again, 3D is the type of thing where I'm sure you'll agree to some extent, if the movie is like shot and intended for 3D, it can look really good. And when it's
just felt like a bit of a gimmick to me, honestly. I mean,
yeah. And when it's not, that's when it's a gimmick. Like some 3D movies are just terrible. They're horrible. Like I remember, I think I saw Thor: The Dark World in 3D, and that was just like, why is this
the same movie except with a little bit of a blur to it,
a little bit of lightning like off the screen, and it's like, what's
and I was like, this isn't worth the extra $5-10 whatever the hell it was back then, but
yeah. So
I will see it eventually. I do want to see it. I wasn't intrigued up until like the review started coming out and people were like, oh, it's better than the first one. I was like, all right, sure, why not?
What I would say about it is it's I personally didn't see it as like exceptionally better than the first one, but I do think in certain areas it's an improvement, specifically the pacing, because I've always thought the first one being as long as it is, I've always thought it's very slow. This one is it's much better paced. Like it wasn't until the third act that I found myself going like, okay, come on, when's this wrapping up? But for most of the movie, you're pretty much in it. What I would say is it's about the same but different. Like it feels like they did go out of their way to improve some of the clear negatives people called out on the first one, and I think that in and of itself created different issues.
Okay.
Like and Chris says in the comment as well, like I do think overall the script is better in like how, especially with the new characters, how they're defining the characters and how they are separating these characters apart. It's not just a group of Na'vi. It is like each character is a character, but like you improve that aspect of the script. The dialogue at times is really like, there's some stuff there. And it does feel a lot like setup. Like you can tell that this one was written with the hope being they're going to make 3 more of them because there is a little more setup and
I mean, they've all, as far as I'm aware, they've filmed most of the third one already, right?
Yeah, Cameron was saying they had like 9 hours of footage or something, and I don't know if that's like they need to edit that amongst the other films or what that is, but there's like 9 hours of footage.
That's a lot of editing that he's going to be.
What the number I read?
Cut at least 6 hours of that out, but so
the number that I'd read previously was apparently they had filmed all of the third film, and they already had like a quarter of the fourth film filmed.
Oh shoot! Okay, so all of this like, oh, this movie needs to make $2 billion to be successful. No, it's making $2 billion because they filmed.
Yeah, the reason. So I believe if I remember correctly, they've done 2 shoots, and like they did 2 shoots over the last couple of years, where for a large chunk of time they shot a shit ton of footage, and it was a mix of different footage. Like it was just kind of everything. But essentially, the second and third film are shot, and the first bit of the fourth film is already shot. That's how like when they were doing the cast announcements, there were cast members that were announced like a couple of years ago when they were first announcing cast members that just aren't in this film, and it's because they shot footage at the time, but it's all for the other movies. Like the 2 that stood out to me that I remember were David Thewlis and Michelle Yeoh shot footage.
Oh, they're not in okay.
But they're not in this. They're for the third one. They're not in this movie.
So now I have to watch it because I like both of those guys. But all right.
Yeah, that's for the third one. Suck you in 2 more years or whatever.
Oh my god. All right. So this is my like, as someone who hasn't seen it and like was okay with the first Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying this is improvement, but also not really. So is it still on that level, or would you say it's like a slight? Yeah.
I would say, generally speaking, how you feel about the first one is probably roughly how you'll feel about this. You may like it a little more, you may like it a little less, but like if you're somebody who just hated the first one, I don't think it's good enough to change your stance.
Okay.
But if you like the first one, I think you will either like this just as much, if not a little more. Simply because I do think the way that it's put together, it's a little more palatable than the first one. It's not as, in terms of the overall film, it's not as heavy-handed or as like, it's not trying to be like, most of the first one feels like it's trying to be this big epic drama, whereas this feels like it's more just trying to be this big sci-fi movie. It doesn't.
So in terms of like world building, then, so like, you know how when Dune came out last year,
mm-hmm.
like I almost immediately wanted to stay in that kind of world.
Mm-hmm.
And like have the next movie come out, and obviously they just finished filming recently, but does it have that kind of effect where you're like, all right, I immediately want to come back to Pandora and stay here, or is it more like, all right, that was cool, I'll wait for the next one, and you're okay with waiting the 2, 3, however long it takes me to make the next one?
I would say for me, I'm okay with waiting, but I also acknowledge to some extent that like I'm very heavily a realist with that type of thing. Like I'm the guy, I've talked about this before. I'm the guy who feels no emotion at the end of Infinity War, because the first time that I saw it in theaters, it's like they kill Bucky, and then the very next person they kill is Black Panther, and my head.
I was like, oh, right, okay, they're
right. No, this isn't going to affect me. But like, I do know people who were like, it could have kept going, and I would have been perfectly fine. And I do certainly think once they get to the Water Tribe, because they don't start there, once they get to the Water Tribe, the world building within that, and like the way they expand and explain their connection to the nature of the world, to me was a lot more engaging than the stuff they did in the first one.
Oh, okay, cool. All right.
And they use, there's a handful of scenes where like they'll go for a couple of minutes without like full dialogue, because you're more so seeing the nature of where they're at and how it kind of works, and I think that stuff was much more engaging than the first one.
Just getting the visual effects people their Oscar.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. I'd say this movie is damn near a lock for visual effects, and I'd also argue for sound, I think, unless there's something I'm forgetting. I think the sound in this was really well done.
I can't think of another big visual effects movie that came out this year, to be honest. I mean...
No, Top Gun would probably be its closest competitor.
Top Gun, but even that, it's...
And you're arguing stunts versus VFX, essentially.
Yeah, and stunts should have their own Oscar category.
That's true.
But, Okay, all right, that's cool then.
Yeah, so it's dope. Like I would say, it's not. I mean, it's probably gonna get a Best Picture nom because it's Cameron, but like it's not that good, but it's still very good.
Okay.
So yeah, so I saw that Thursday. That was cool. Friday I did get editing done, which was nice. I got some stuff done, and we got all those matches up, which was really cool. Yesterday I lost my entire afternoon because I went to the theater and I took my brother and sister to an AMC to go see Avatar because they didn't come with me. Uh, and we get there, we wait through the long ass concession line because for some reason the theater has like 3 people working all of concessions.
Jesus, during Avatar weekend. Okay.
Yeah. And they get into the theater. I'm waiting out in the lobby because I got a ticket to go see Black Panther a second time because it would have equated runtime. And they're in the theater for all of 5 minutes, and I just get a text from my brother, and he's like, "Yo, the screen's broken." They're like handing out free passes to everybody. So, and there was like no other showtime starting, so it's just like, okay, well that's a bust. So they went and saw it today. They enjoyed it. And then today, of course, this morning, why the matches weren't finished in terms of the editing and the processing is
going on.
I wasn't at home. Yeah, there was another match going on, which was the World Cup final. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah, I wanted both teams to lose, to be honest. But
you were done once England got knocked out.
Honestly, okay, I'm still mad about that England-France game because France played dirty as hell, and
they did. No, England got fault.
Listen,
I mean, Harry Kane should have hit that penalty, but
Harry Kane should have hit the penalty. Yes, and it's weird that the England press isn't giving him the same shit that they gave Rashford and Saka and Lingard the last time. But whatever.
I wonder what's different.
I don't know. But I will say, like, so
if you don't know who we're talking about, just look up pictures of these people, and you will find the difference.
You'll know. It's pretty obvious once you see the picture.
Also, my regards to Chouameni because I'm sure he's going to get his own.
Oh, he's
probably That's
but no, like that game, I thought we should have won that game, and then like after they lost, I was like, all right, forget it. Now Morocco's going to take it, and then Morocco just shits the bed the next game, and I did enjoy the game, the second half and beyond of today's game.
Yeah.
The first half was really boring.
Argentina they had control. Like there was no question about it.
They had control, and there was no back and forth. And like it's a World Cup final. You want to see some back and forth, and for you to have to wait like 60 minutes for the back and forth to start, it's a long wait. So, I mean, we got another 60 minutes afterwards of them being intense, but it was still like if half of your game is intense and then the other half is just like, who cares? It's a little.
Yeah, no, true. It was like the only reason there was any energy for me watching the game is because where I happened to go, I just went to the equivalent of like a chain restaurant that has a bar that they decided to open an hour early because down here that all places open at 11 and the game started at 10. So they were like, we'll open an hour early for people to come watch the game. Yeah. And it just so happened the place that I went was mostly Argentina fans. So, of course, they're jumping during the first half. And then the game gets good. So it's just like, oh, okay.
And then they're like stressed and people are crying. And then...
Oh, dude, you have no idea. Dude, it was literally like almost all Argentinians. And then just from my POV, there's one guy in the corner of the bar back by the kitchen who's clearly supporting the French because that third goal goes in and he's like out of his seat and like everyone else is in tears.
I mean, we got 4 years until it's coming over on this side of the pond. So
man, are there any because I know they've announced the stadiums. Are there any up by you? Like, is it like realistic for you to go watch any?
Not like within driving distance of me or anything like that, but I mean, Toronto's a few-hour flight from me. Vancouver's like a 2-hour flight for me. So very relatively easy to get to those places, and like I have friends in all those places too and family, so I can like just hang out with them for a bit, and then hopefully England plays in one of those arenas and I can
that'd be Yeah, that'll be interesting because you have there's 2 of them up there, right? That'll have it, just the 2 stadiums.
Yeah, it's just the two stadiums up here. You guys have most of them down with you guys in the States,
which makes sense.
I think Mexico has 1 or 2.
Yeah, I'm lucky where I'm situated that I'm basically dead center between Miami and Atlanta. So really, I already have a couple of friends who like I even have friends who like only watch soccer, football, like when there's the biggest tournaments happening like this,
Right.
who are like, I want to go just for the experience. So
I mean, listen, that happens every 4 years. You might as well.
if it's here, yeah,
If
you
it's
might as
here,
well.
you might as well, right? I mean,
And
like,
not traveling to Qatar. All the
kidding me? Jesus.
everyone who went broke doing that. Congratulations, you guys got
Yeah,
to
no,
see
I'm gonna
Messi
take
win.
a few hour
Congrats.
flight and then, or maybe drive for like a day and then just go see a game and then hang out in the city for a while. That's it. That's all I gotta
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. Yeah, either city I go to, there's something I can do. Miami has the
Miami,
whole.
I've heard, is a lot of things that you can do. So
Oh yes, there's a
yeah,
lot of things that can be done down there. So, there's that. So I guess since we're still on it, before I move on to stuff actually connected to the show, Chris asks because I did talk about it in an episode. I saw Puss in Boots 2. At this point, I saw it nearly a month ago. I got to see an early screening of it, which was really
oh shoot,
cool.
all right.
Yeah, they did it. They did some early screenings of it. I don't know if it was chain connected or how it worked, but I was able to get into an early screening, and I didn't have to pay for it because they allowed a list access down here for AMC.
All right.
So it was dope. How is Puss in Boots 2? Because it comes out on Wednesday. Genuinely, no joke. Aside from probably Del Toro's Pinocchio, which is the heavy favorite to win the award.
No, you're not. You're not about to say this.
Dude, genuinely, Puss in Boots is probably one of the best animated film this year. It really is. Here's what I'll say. My biggest criticism of it comes in the voice acting department, and it's not that this person is bad, because here's the thing that people may not know about this movie. The cast is wild.
Who's in this?
So it's Antonio Banderas, Salma Hayek. If anyone's a fan of What We Do in the Shadows, Harvey Guillermo is in it. We have Olivia Colman, Florence Pugh. Oh my God, Wagner Moura. If anyone's a fan of Narcos,
John Mulaney.
He's the one. Mulaney doesn't fully fit because he's kind of just doing Mulaney. And he's playing one of the antagonists in the film, and I don't know, he just doesn't always fit the vibe that the movie's going for. But what I will say is, if something you enjoyed about like the original Shrek films was the sort of play on fairy tale, this is leaning into that. It's leaning into the fairy tale aspect of this world. The animation, because at one point, the director of the film, I believe the guy's name was Bob Prischetti, he was one of the directors of Spider-Verse. He didn't actually direct it, but his influence is still left on the film, and the animation is very Spider-Verse inspired, and so it's very flowing. It's very it's a really good looking movie. I don't know. I do know they're releasing it in 3D as well. I don't know how the 3D looks, but I do know that the animation looks great. And it's genuinely like it's heartwarming, it's entertaining. I've never seen What We Do in the Shadows, but the guy who's in it from that show probably steals the movie. That character is the best supporting character that they've made since probably Donkey.
What was his name? Harvey
Guillermo. He's like a tubby Hispanic guy. I looked up a picture of him once.
Okay.
If anybody knows anything about that show. No, like I can't say enough good things about it. I genuinely enjoyed it. It's not going to win an Oscar because Del Toro exists.
Yeah.
And, well, for some reason, all of the award shows are calling Marcel the Shell with Shoes on an animated film, which technically it is, but
I guess.
But, like, I don't know how that works, but it's also being nominated, and the Oscars have deemed it eligible, so it's never going to win. But genuinely, I thought Puss in Boots might be, outside of those two, probably the best animated film this year. And in terms of enjoyment, I probably liked it more than Pinocchio, because Pinocchio is very beautiful, but at least for me, it's a hard film to enjoy. I don't know if you saw that.
Okay, I guess I understand where you're coming from, but I enjoyed it.
No, it's fair. It's still very good. But it's a lot of fun. I can't recommend it enough. And part of the reason I can't recommend it enough is because it's Puss in Boots 2. Like, most people are not going to look at this and go, oh, yeah, that's worth seeing.
Okay, so I'm looking at the other animated films from this year. And, yeah,
it's better than all three of Disney's. Like, just straight up, it's better than all three of Disney's films.
There was Turning Red, there was Lightyear, and then Strange World, which I forgot came out.
Yep, better than all three of those. And I liked Strange World, but better than all three of those.
The Minions movie came
God,
out.
it's better than that.
What is this one? I'm not even sure if some of these are movies, to be honest. The Bad Guys. That was not bad, but it's not like
that was the other DreamWorks film. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers movie, which I loved. I thought that was amazing.
Okay, that movie's fun.
That was dope. And then Intergalactic, which came out on Netflix, which I really enjoyed as well. But
I also really, dude, I watched that movie, and the weirdest part about that movie was I was constantly thinking the weakest part of a movie made to promote a Kid Cudi album is the Kid Cudi album.
Yeah.
Like the actual movie itself is really good.
The actual film is like really well done. And then there was Wendell and Wild.
I never saw that. I haven't gotten around to that yet.
Oh, you haven't gotten around to that one? Okay, so that one
I heard it was good though.
I mean, also the Bob's Burgers movies and Secret Life of Pets, but I don't think those are going to be.
What was the other one?
Secret Life of Secret Life of. What is this? Oh, DC League of Super Pets. That's what it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, those are both good, but no, they're not.
There's also The Sea Beast, which is actually a very good film.
I thought that movie was prettier than it was good. Like it's a fine movie. It's just really beautiful to look at.
You know what? I watched it with like some young children in my family, and there's a scene that scared the living crap out of me.
Beavis and Butthead.
They came out?
Have a movie. Yeah, on Paramount. I forgot about that. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. What were you?
So you've seen Sea Beast, right?
Yes, yeah.
There's a scene where like Carl Urban's character and the girl are both underwater, and the creature's just like staring at them.
Oh, okay, and, like,
yeah. Scared the living crap out of me. Like I'm watching that freaking the fuck out, and the kids are all like, "Whoa, look, it's so cool!" I'm like, that fucking thing. You can only see a little bit of its forehead, and then it slowly backs away from the camera into the dark, and you don't see any of it anymore. That terrified me. Like beyond what I want to admit, but it terrified me. And the kids were like, "Wow, that was so cool." And I'm like, "That's some weird, scary shit right there." And you guys are just laughing at it. I don't know if it was just me, but I looked it up, and a lot of people had the same thought that I had. I was like, "That is the most terrifying thing in an animated movie."
No, the actual beast design was really well done. Like you can tell there was a lot of care put into that side of it.
The animation side of it is really, it's a really well animated movie. The story's a little, whatever, but the animation of it, like the water animation, is really well done, and the character designs are all really well done, and some of the cast is really good too. Like
Carl Urban was great.
Carl Urban was great as always.
Who was the captain? I forget offhand.
Jared Harris.
Jared Harris, thank you. Yeah,
Jared
he was
Harris
also really
does a wonderful job there, and then. A lot of like lesser known actors, but like really well done on all of those. But I don't know. I hope it gets a nom just because I feel like not enough people know about it. And if it gets one, then maybe people are like, oh, we should watch that. And then
it'll check it out. Yeah.
But
no, I agree with you. It was there was a lot of good animation this year. There was some really good animated films.
I don't know if Disney's really gonna get nominated.
Was probably the weakest. Like if we're talking about consistency, Disney probably had, because like all three of their movies were good, but I don't know if any of them were standout.
I wouldn't put any of their three above
Turning Red probably being the best of those three, but still.
Maybe, yeah. But then you'd go Pinocchio, you'd go Puss in Boots.
Yeah, those are both better. If we're counting Marcel and Chip and Dale, because you said Chip and Dale showed up under animated as well, those are both better.
So that's 4 that should get it, and then probably Wendell and Wild or Intergalactic might get. I don't know if Intergalactic
was better.
Intergalactic was better, but I don't know if it qualifies if it had like a theater release or not.
Yeah, probably not. Same with Chip and Dale. I don't know if that had a theatrical.
Yeah.
It won't count. But since we're just talking about good animation films, did you see The House on Netflix from way back at the start of the year?
Well, I don't know that one.
Is
that a movie or a TV show?
Well, I think it was meant to originally be a TV show, but they turned it into a movie. They only produced 3 episodes, so they made it a movie. But it's an anthology film. And it's stop motion animation with all these like really dark, creepy, horror inspired shorts.
Fuck out of here.
No, not for you.
Not for me. Stop motion horror, creepy animated stuff. Nah, man.
It's like Wendell and Wild without Key and Peele. No,
yeah, but Wendell and Wild has Key and Peele, and it's like, what's his name?
Henry Selick.
Henry Selick. So I trust it, but whatever.
Yeah, the other one just had Helena Bonham Carter for one of the shorts. So.
Oh fuck no, that's even worse. Okay, hold on. So in the comments, Diaz is talking about Scrooged or a
Oh,
Scrooged
I
one.
saw that. Yeah. Netflix put out if I have this correct, Netflix put out a Scrooge animated movie, and I'm pretty sure it's a remake of the 1951 movie with Alistair Sim. I
Oh,
think I
like
read
almost shot
that.
for shot, or
I don't know. I don't know how shot for shot. That's what I thought I'd read. Hold on, let me look this up.
I'm looking it
For
up,
what
and it
it's
has
worth,
like Luke Evans and Olivia Colman,
yeah, that's what he
and then
said.
Jonathan Pryce is in it too.
Well, it looks butt ugly just from the image of it.
Yeah, the animation just on this picture looks kind of terrible.
For what it's worth, if anybody's watching if anybody is watching a musical version of A Christmas Carol this Christmas, just get Apple TV and watch Spirited. That was
I've been meaning to get
way
to that one.
that one. Look, if you're a musical snob and you need good singing, you're not going to find it here. But I'm just saying it.
He's not
between
wrong.
between the three of them, Ryan Reynolds, Will Ferrell, and Octavia Spencer, they found half a tune. But the songs are really well written because it's the guys who did Greatest Showman and La La Land and all that.
Okay.
And the songs are really well written, and the movie just has a lot of heart. Like it's Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds aren't just playing themselves. There's a little more to it than that, and I think the movie's really heart-filled. That and a lot of the background cast carry their weight.
Okay.
Like some of the background actors I think are like actual stage actors, so when they sing it sounds better. It's just the three are like not great. Yeah, okay, so I did find it. Yeah, so it's okay, so it's not the Alistair Sim one. It's an animated remake of the Albert Finney one from the 70s.
Oh Jesus! All right, forget it.
Yeah, so there we go with Luke Evans in the role of Scrooge.
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
That's when
So
you know
yeah,
he was going for the paycheck. He's like, all right, sure, it's animated. I just get to do the same thing someone did
well,
like
see,
20 years ago.
Luke Evans was just excited because he can bring out his inner musical. Luke Evans is one of the least, I guess, if we're using stereotypes, least gay men I've ever seen. Like, he doesn't. Come on, he's the villain of a Fast and Furious movie. There's nothing about him that would
I
tell
would
you.
say it's him or it's Hugh Jackman.
That's fair.
Yeah, just because they both have that same kind of
That's true. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and he's also like a Broadway showman.
like I can't tell which one he loves more. Like he came back for Wolverine one more time, and I'm still like, no, but this guy really just genuinely likes to do the tap dancing and all that. But all right,
Yeah,
it's
he's like just on stage, and now he's like back getting ripped for Wolverine. It's like,
at like 60 years old almost. Good for him. But
oh my
Jesus.
god, what kind of steroids do you have to put him on? Um, so yeah, so the last 30 minutes or so, somehow you end up here. That's why the matches didn't go up today. They'll be up tomorrow. Trust me, the edits are already done. It's literally just processing. So I'll move on. What I'll start with is briefly. I can get some opinions if you want here. I'm not going to talk about. So I do have a tentative schedule put together for the start of next year.
Okay.
But I'm not going to talk about matches that aren't already public because we did have a handful of matches that got pushed back and they were already made public. So you'll just,
That's fair. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm not going to announce anything yet, just because I'm going to speak to everybody first before we get there. We do the first handful of matches that'll come out next year are all publicly already known matches, so we'll go over them. Just for thoughts and whatever on the matchup. So the first one is the tournament finals. Do you yourself, since you're the person on here, do you care about being spoiled on who's in the finals?
I'll be honest. My schedule's been so busy the last like 3 months that I haven't really been able to watch anything that has happened on this channel. So I have no idea who's there, but sure, go ahead, spoil me.
All right. So if anybody watching at home, go ahead and mute your computers for about a minute. That's all we'll spend on it. 2 minutes. Give us 2 minutes. All right. So go ahead and mute your computers now. We'll take about 2 minutes. Okay, so we'll talk about the tournament finals. So these are the two matches that just went up over the last 2 days. And the tournament finals is going to be the number 9 seed Jay Burns taking on the number 2 seed Joe Fairley. Jay took out Austin Howell in a blind round victory, going all the way to sudden death. Joe, however, looking like a fucking stud, knocked out Will Cohen in the semifinal match. Okay. Knocked him out to take him into the final. Obviously, these are two guys you're both very familiar with. You've known them for a while. What are your thoughts on that matchup?
I honestly can't wait to see it, to be completely fair. This one is, have they faced each other before?
They have, yes, in the tournament we did way back when we relaunched, and Joe did beat Jay.
Right. Yeah. No,
so this is a rematch.
Yeah, because I watched that one in preparation for mine against Joe, but this should be good, man. I mean, Jay being ranked 9 is not.
Oh, he's not anymore.
He's not anymore. No, but like him being ranked 9 going in is very low. So anyone who was matched up against him was definitely going to have like a dog fight with him.
I'm gonna issue official apologies now to JPO, Chad Webb, and Austin. You guys did your best, but and he didn't beat slouches either. That's the thing. No, it was a tough.
He beat Austin. Austin's not. He's a very good competitor. Again, whose record doesn't really say what his skill level is. Who you said he beat Chad?
Chad, he beat Chad as well. Yep.
Chad's not nearly close to being called a slouch either. So that's a very tough road to go up, man. That's good for him. I mean, any one of those 3 guys could have been in this spot, to be completely honest, and it speaks to how good Jay is that he's there. And I'm excited to see what kind of shit he says against Joe, to be completely honest.
That really, it's just the shit talk that he brings. Honestly, that is what you're...
Jay, I love you, man, but the shit talk is going to be my favorite part of this.
Absolutely. And so that tournament final will be the first match of next year, which for anyone who's wondering, and obviously there will be a post about it on the Facebook page leading up to it, but we're going to be taking, once these 2 matches go up tomorrow, we're going to be taking the rest of December off. We're also going to be taking most of January off, as we're going to use that time to sort of build up matches again so that we can keep a sense of consistency. So Sunday, January 29th, that is when we will return with uploads, and that final will be the first match. Yeah, this will be like the first real extended break we've taken since the show relaunched. I've had like weeks off here and there just because either I fell behind. You've been working
pretty hard, man. Like take the time that you need, right? There you go.
I'll take that. So we'll jump into the others real quickly that are announced. So we're gonna have the second match of the season will be Zach Shelton versus Jacob West. So this was a matchup. So this was a matchup that was supposed to happen before the end of year tournament that we did. Right. And Shelton wanted to play Papa West, and we set it up, and then things happened with the tournament. Actually, you're part of it because you unfortunately had to drop due to your schedule, and Shelton got a pickup spot because it was 1-1 with a knockout at the time. Okay. Things did not go well for him against Joe. And so now we have this matchup, which we are going to do Shelton versus Jacob. What are your thoughts?
I don't really know Zach that well. But Papa West is, I'm not gonna try and diss Papa West or anything like that, but you know how you can get in a debate sometimes. So it'll be a good introduction for me to see what Zach is capable of, and and I'm sure he's gonna have a lot of fun talking to Papa West for an hour and a half, or probably longer based on how they're gonna talk about it. But
yeah, absolutely, it'll be. In terms of Papa's here for fun. Like Papa's one of the few people I think genuinely doesn't take home with him whether he wins or loses. He'll want to win this one just because Zach called him out. But other than that, this is really more about seeing, I guess, as a competitor where Zach lies.
I want to see where Zach lies, but I also want to see what kind of trash talk Papa West brings back after he's been called out by this guy. So that should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a good question that Brian asks for anyone who watches this who's a judge of the show. So uploads won't start until the end of the month, but we're picking back up filming the show starting probably the first week of January. So we already had, as we said, we had a handful of matches that started that got delayed to next year. So all of those are already set up. They've had the questions. They'll have had like probably in terms of obviously schedules are schedules, but in terms of literally how long they've had the questions, it's the longest anyone's ever had a set of questions. Okay. Which means, of course, these will be the biggest shit show matches we've ever had. But the first week of January is when the judges will be looking to hear from me about the matches once we get dates in place and things like that. But I just figured we had a handful of matches that got pushed into December, and my goal was always to avoid December as much as possible because it's a shit show. It's the holidays. Everybody's busy.
Everyone's stressed about other stuff. Like it's
yeah. So we got done what we needed to get done. That's why there was a handful that got pushed. But good question, Brian. So so in terms of filming, if you're a judge and you're curious as to when you'll be back, it'll be January. And I will message that, of course. I don't expect somebody to watch 40 minutes into this video. I'll message the group that you guys are all a part of, and I'll let you guys know as well. So the next match, Madi, we'll talk about yourself. We have the first scheduled triple threat match. We're bringing those back, which are triple threats, just a fancy name for 3 competitors. And we're going to have 3 players with winning records, all of whom are at very different stages of their career, because we have yourself, who obviously you've made it to a tournament final. You've now established yourself as on the higher end of our competitor scale. Congratulations. And all with no pants.
That's weird to say out loud, honestly.
We have Andy Sweet, 3-2 with 1 knockout, who it has certainly had some solid wins. Really, his lack of play is more just availability. And then Sean Sandberg, who's the rookie at 1-0, who was being put up into this as more of a test early on after a solid first match. So, of course, you're going to win this match. That's your thoughts. But how do you feel about that?
Honestly, I don't think I'm going to win any of my matches when I'm in them. Especially like when you look at who I'm facing, I'm like, oh, I'm going to face Jeremy. Oh, I'm facing Jeremy again. I'm going to lose both of them. I'm going to face Sean. I'm going to face Joe. I'm going to face all these other guys.
We got to solve that, though. There's an unresolved match there, right? We gotta.
Yeah, all right. Well, we'll get to that later. But no, like I don't go in expecting to win necessarily. I won't tell you what the questions are because you can wait for that. But based on the questions, I think, and I've known Sean for a long time. I haven't known Andy that well, but and based on the conversations we've had just kind of in the group, I'm actually really excited about this trip. Usually having me in anything more than just a one-on-one is a sign of something going downhill. But for this one, I feel like this is actually going to be like a really intense and really fun match for everyone to not only be a part of, but to watch as well. Because
absolutely.
Andy definitely seems like he's someone who can bring it. Sean, I have full faith that he's someone who can bring it and debate because I've spoken to him on multiple occasions. I know he likes to talk shit about stuff when he can, and he can make you believe that he believes it too. So, but no, I'm actually really. This is probably the one that I'm most excited about that I've been a part of in a long time. Just because I know that both of them are going to do really well in that arena, and also it's just going to be a lot of fun to talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, I'll just throw these out and you can talk about whichever one interests you the most. The other matches that we have set up, all of these are kind of mid-table matches that we were going to use as buffer for the end of the year, but we pushed them instead. We have Dean Lewis versus Brandon Cohen, both of whom are 0-1 players. They made their debut before the year ended, but they're going to come back next season. Tyler Birch versus Ryan Payne, and Kevin Poss versus Shannon Briggs are the other 3 that have been announced that we will have. And the matches that I've given to you guys, these are the order in which they'll upload, and these will be the first 6 matches of the year. And then, of course, once everything else about the schedule is sort of set, we'll talk more about the other matches. But yeah. So what about any of those, if does any of them stand out to you?
Tyler Birch and Ryan Payne stands out to me, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I've faced Tyler, and I thought he was a really cool competitor to go up against. Just the way he picks answers and the way he argues them, it's something that like throws you off so much that you're like in your head thinking about how he's going to do it, and then he throws a whole other curveball at you that you're just not expecting. So really excited to see him. And then Ryan is obviously a really great competitor too. So, and they have very similar, I don't want to say similar taste, but I know that they have similar enjoyment in certain spheres. So I know that they can get passionate about a lot of the same things. And that one to me is the one that I'm probably most intrigued by, because I do want to see Tyler do really well, because he deserves it, and so does Ryan.
Tyler is another one who he's had a couple of tough losses and a couple of good wins. He's 2-2. The only reason he hasn't played more is just availability. Dude works He works within, without saying specifically, he works within a college. So there are just certain times of the year where you're just fucked, and that just is what it is.
And he works in a college during Christmas time. It's going to be all exam. He's busy as hell. I understand that. Like no, but he's definitely someone I'm excited to see more of. And his one loss to me, honestly, could have gone either way if you go back and watch that match. So could be 3-1, could be 2-2, could be whatever else. So
yeah,
I'm excited to see that one of the ones you mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. So then we'll go ahead and move on from that. So guys, yeah, those are all the matches that'll be happening at the start of the season. You guys can have those to look forward to. And once we have everything locked in, so to speak, there will be more announcements about a schedule and sort of what is coming following that. So the next thing we'll kind of move on and talk about is, as I said, this is the first real break that we've taken for the show. And so to some extent, I take this as an opportunity to look at any potential changes or adjustments that need to be made. And in doing that, obviously, I have a creative team behind the scenes. I have the guys who have sort of worked as the producers of the show with me since day one. They're always there anytime I need to bounce ideas off people. We put together a hosting team, which you guys were a big help in the latter part of the year, filling in when I wasn't available and making sure the show was able to record and sort of stay steady, who, of course, I've talked to about different things here and there when I see you guys. And publicly as well, some of it will be up to. The one thing that I can say will be looked at and adjusted is the strengths list. And there will be a lot more public discourse about what should be on there and what shouldn't be. I will just strictly be eliminating things because it's probably a little too big. I'll just be eliminating things that just never got picked, things that feel a little extraneous. And I'll be going to people for suggestions on what should be added, because obviously, especially with like the franchises and stuff, when I put together that list, it's like, there's only so many that you can possibly think of when you're trying to build a list in one shot. And there are things that came out throughout the year that I didn't think of, be it genres of film that people enjoy, where it's like a subset, like sports movies, right? Like if you look up genres of film, sports movies is not necessarily going to come up in a Google search. So if you don't think of it, you're not going to think of it. But it is a genre, and people obviously enjoy it. Franchises, I mean, the infamous one which Henry has used against me in a match was Saw, which more than meets the qualification of being a franchise. But I'm not a horror guy. I thought of like Michael, Marvel, Jason. What franchises are they a part of? And like add that to the list. So that'll be one of the big things. Is there will certainly be, and if you're watching this video and you watch the show, join our Facebook page. There should be a link in the description to TMG Entertainment or TMG Trivia, either or, because that's where a lot of these posts will go, looking for opinions on the league and looking for things that need to change. And other than that, I'm just open to hearing any ideas in general, any ideas that people think could make the game better, adjustment in the game, the game's rules and how they're done, or anything like that.
I hate the speed round. If I can, or not
the blind round.
Blind round, rather. I hate the blind round. I think we should get rid of it.
That's not going away just because I love it.
Okay. All right. I'm bad, guys. I'm sorry.
He tried. He brought the war, but no. But no, like certainly I think there's elements that could be discussed. And who knows, if somebody can pitch me an idea that will piss people off just as much, I'm down for it. Let's try. That's what it's about now. That's my bit of
violence today. Like this is how you've set up this league, is just waking up and choose violence.
That's my bit of joy in this, is I get to watch people just absolutely
suffer. I will say, from a competitor side and from a judging side and from a hosting side, because
you've done all three now, yeah.
I've done all three now for some reason. I think the way the show is structured is doing pretty well. The only thing that I think that is like ever an issue, and it's not even anyone's fault, is that you're doing this by yourself, and people just got to remember that you're like almost a one-man show, right?
Yeah. So, the way that I've chosen to structure it in running it is after, and to be fair, anyone who's been around in the fan leagues long enough has heard the stories of things that have happened. My approach to it is
very different.
I will choose to handle as much of this by myself as I humanly can, but I like to have a team of people like yourself and
Right.
the others, because for me, it's more important to have people you can rely on in the moments you need them than somebody who wants to give up all of their life towards it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm not saying anyone should volunteer to give up their whole life for this because, first of all, we don't pay, or at least I don't
No,
get
God,
paid.
no.
So,
No, I don't get paid. I'd love that. If
uh,
anybody would like to sponsor me, I will read all the ads. I'll put effort in, baby.
yeah, fuck it. Who knows?
I'll
I
finish
think
your ad read before I finish our title match. Let's.
the only thing is like the only way that we could make this more consistent is if people didn't have schedules to go around,
Yep.
which like and that's just my point of view. I think the way that you're running the show is phenomenal. I don't have any notes or anything like that other
I
than
do
the
appreciate that.
blind
Thank
round. But like in all honesty, it is just, you have judges who you trust, and
Yeah.
you ask at least 3 of them to be there for everything, which is a good. I mean, if you go through like any Olympic sport, they always have a panel of judges. You don't just have one
Right.
person; you have a panel, right?
Yeah.
And I think everyone in the community is now pretty much cool with the fact that, like, all right, certain judges might have had different opinions. Certain judges might have said this. I got lucky with this set of judges today. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
it's gotten better than it was in the past, and that's not a diss to anyone who was running it previously, but everyone is kind of understanding of how it works now. So, like, I personally think we're doing great, and we should just keep doing what we're doing. If someone does have an opinion that they think, all right, maybe we should try this, sure, we can try it,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and then see how it goes. I mean,
some other stuff that's up in the air that I've talked about that I'll be looking at sort of ways to adjust or fix exhibition matches,
yeah,
keeping them in some type of sense. That'll have the approach to that will have to change. Because my view is if something's an exhibition, it should be the most fun, and at times they were the least fun to deal with. So
yeah, fair enough.
certainly there should I want to take an approach change to that. Uploads will also be different. And again, I'll leave a sect of this up to people. What I've found from analytics is the weeks where we have more matches they get less views, which makes sense in theory. It does make sense. And the nights that seem to do best, at least on analytics, what that shows me is the Sunday, Wednesday upload. So basically middle of the week and then Sunday night. So starting next season, my aim to keep the show uploading at a consistent rate is basically just to stick to 2 matches a week, Wednesday and Sunday, unless something arises that needs a change.
Yeah.
But again, like maybe I'll put a post up on the Facebook page and just let people vote. Like if you like to watch live, what nights work best, and we can adjust if we need to. Because at the end of the day, like as much as I run it, like I run the ship, at the end it should be for the people who are watching and competing. Like I want the experience to work the best that it possibly can. Because again,
like instead of
anyone who's been around the community of, again, most of us spawned from fans of the Schmodown. Anyone who's been around that community long enough knows that there have been enough instances of just miserable feeling that's my main goal, is just to eliminate that, which I think I've done a decent job of, considering this is a show that's all opinionated. It could be so easy to slip into that.
One of the people who was stuck around since the beginning. Well, relatively stuck around. I took my time
there.
off. I feel I don't know if people didn't want me in the league or if I just took time off and it coincided with it. But as someone who's kind of been there since the old days, it definitely has a different feel to it on a competitor side and as well as like everything else, and as a viewer side of, okay, people are actually liking doing this and enjoying doing this.
More,
just, like, it genuinely feels more enjoyable in comparison to where before it was just like, all right, well, I got this thing to do. Let's get it over with, and all the other things that came about with it a number of years ago. It definitely does feel like it's in a much better place now than it has been in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with you 100%, especially in terms of like community interaction being the biggest thing. And part of it is also, I've openly said to people, anyone who's ever spoken to me behind the scenes, I don't ever like to prejudge someone before I know them, but I'm not going out of my way to intermingle with people who have a reputation for being involved in instances and situations.
Right.
And it seems like at this point, any of people who are like that are largely segregated, and the people who interact with them are the people who have had good interactions with them. And I think we've reached a point where everyone can just sort of coexist, and
We've
it's like
sort of
this.
figured out a good community.
Yeah, like it feels like, because back in the day it felt like, because it was all new and like everyone wanted to be involved with everything, you were forcing yourself to be around people you don't like. Whereas I feel like for the most part now we've reached that point where I hope no one's forcing themselves to be around people they don't like because they want to play a trivia game or something. Don't do that to yourself.
Like,
it's not.
At this
there's
point,
someone else. There's always someone else.
There's 30 leagues out there doing trivia.
Yeah.
There's gonna be one that you enjoy that is.
Oh, the porn bots showed up. Let's block that.
Fucking about time, Jesus.
Fucking about time. I'm almost upset that it took this long.
Yeah, honestly, this is on you viewers, guys. You're not showing up fast enough. But no, honestly, like the community part is one of the best parts of this whole thing. Is I genuinely enjoy being in the number of group chats that I'm in, even though I'm not always like writing anything or in them. I'm still watching people lose their mind over the stupidest thing. Like, yeah, you know, it ends up being a nice little relief from like your day-to-day work stress, where you come home and you're looking at your phone and you see that Tato said something ridiculous in one chat, and now you have to process what the hell he just said.
Yeah.
And Tato, listen, I love you, man. I'm just pulling your name out because it's on the side of the comments and I saw it. But straight up, it's just one of those things where I'm just like, all right, it's funny, made me laugh, and then Jay is underneath saying something else stupid in response.
Yeah,
you know, I love
those would be the two.
Goes. Like that more than the matches and more than anything else, I love that this community has kind of become its own sort of thing, where everyone's genuinely just cool with each other.
Yeah, absolutely. To answer the question that showed up, or I guess answer it the best I can, is Wizarding World still no longer in use for next season? The answer is, truthfully, I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to. Wizarding World is one of those weird ones. What I will say is, MCU, because that's another one that's also been heavily drained. MCU itself is no longer going to be a category. And I'll probably reciprocally do the same for DCEU because it's basically dead at this point. And I'm just going to make it all Marvel and DC so that all the movies that are under that brand are eligible, because MCU is another one where the well's been bled pretty dry pretty quickly. I say that it's been like, a year and a half, but still. Yeah, Wizarding World's just one of those, because it's only 11 films, and there's only so many ways you can split that atom. And because we did the exhibition matches, I feel like we have split that atom a lot, much quicker than we probably would have if we hadn't. But
my only thing would be if you have those kind of franchises where we're doing exhibitions fairly often. Like we have the Wizarding World exhibition, we have the MCU exhibition that people can do or be a part of.
So yeah,
so here's, and you can shoot this down if you don't want to do it.
No,
maybe do like 2 or 3 Wizarding World exhibitions a year, and then see how many people sign up, or I guess based on how many people sign up. So if you have like 5 people sign up, do like 1 or 2. But if it's like something like 10 people wanted to be a part of it, or like a Star Wars one people wanted to be a part of, then sure, you can do like 3 or 4 throughout a year.
Yeah, actually, you're on a similar track to what I've been thinking of. Like in terms of, if we're talking about like changing exhibitions, I've discussed the metaphor or comparison that I've used is, I guess technically it's a simile because I'm going to say the word like, is in a manner similar to how Malcolm does Full Metal Random, where the matches only exist because somebody with interest pitches the match.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's probably the best, because part of the issue, I guess, to get into it publicly with the exhibitions, not that I've not spoken about it, is they are the matches that end up with the most production issues, because they're often matches that somebody signs up for, and because they happen a couple weeks later, they forget that they signed up for them. And it's the type of thing where players have dropped out, judges have dropped out. I wasn't there for a lot of them because if I have to schedule something on a day I'm not available, I'd rather it be something that's unimportant. Like there was that mentality around it. So I feel like if I go the Full Metal random route where rather than limiting it to whatever I can think of, I open it up and allow people to put in what they like. Now that said, they're not going to happen on an often basis. Like maybe they happen once a month at that, but it'll be the type of situation where, you know, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I'll put up a post and say like, hey, what exhibitions interest you guys? And if I get a comment for like Chris throws Disney animation, like if I throw up that post and Chris drops Disney animation and I get like 5 responses, then I go, okay, that's an exhibition I got to look at because people have the interest, people will commit and play.
Yeah.
Rather than like trying to come up with ones and like think of something that works, you know?
Yeah, I think because honestly, and I know Malcolm doesn't have a copyright on it, so I feel like you can just go ahead and do it. Because the way he does Full Metal Random, I think is really cool, and I think adding that kind of thing in would only benefit because now it's people kind of choosing what exhibitions are coming up instead of just being told, all right, this one's coming up.
Yeah, 100%. It's you know, because like one of the ones that we canceled that like I thought of nearly a year ago was like DreamWorks, because there's a DreamWorks movie coming out this Christmas, and like we got players to sign up, and this was another issue that we had with exhibitions, and this is not a comment that's being made towards anyone in particular. It's just an observation I noticed based on matches when they were being recorded. Matches were often ending up with certain players who weren't necessarily a fan as much of what they were debating, more so they just wanted the chance to participate and play again. Especially once we got to the end of the year where like eventually you reach a scenario where it's like this match will be your final match of the year. And so henceforth, if someone sees an exhibition, they're going to try and punch themselves in and sign up.
Try and get it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's part of it, which I appreciate to some extent because it means the engagement's there. People want to take part. But again, it doesn't further. Sure whereas, like, when I compare that to, like, the Stoners match that you were a part of and don't remember, like, that was 4 guys who genuinely just wanted to get high and talk movies. And that was fun.
I forgot that we were talking movies. What was that? I did forget something during the match. I just can't remember. Stoner brain.
Like, you said something and then immediately forgot it?
No, okay, this is what it was. Because my girlfriend watched it again. I can't believe you fucking did this. I was reading the little notes that I wrote for that match.
Okay.
I read the notes for the wrong question, one that we'd already finished the round of. So we were on like question 3, and I looked at my screen and I'm like, what question are we on? And I just started reading from. I thought we'd started again, so I started reading from question 1 or whatever it was, and then someone had to come in and be like, hey, Madi, we've already done that question, man. And I'm like, fuck, all right. Which question are we on? And no, Tato, you didn't have the Thanos coin. Like, that much I do remember. Thanos would not be the one you want to get high with.
Tato, on theory alone, that just sounds... I don't want to get high.
Terrible idea.
I don't want to get high and have this, like, philosophical talk about why half the universe dying has to happen. Like,
listen, you guys saw me when I was high. It was just like, all right, do whatever, man. And then he just like, I got permission. Like, I don't need that I don't need that to happen.
Be like the anti what they did in What If with the T'Challa episode. It's like the opposite.
I'm the opposite of T'Challa. I just be like, all right, dude, do what you need to do.
And Jake, you're not saving the planet. The only thing you're saving is the end of that blunt for later. That's
no, I'm sorry, Tato. When you put that in the chat, I immediately was like, this motherfucker's high right now. Like,
salute, Tato. Also, Chris, I just want to say I hope you enjoy. If you hate it, that's not on me. Yeah, but T'Challa didn't need weed for it, bro. He's just that smooth.
Just a regal person who can convince people.
He's got
the right way.
What was the horrible? I was gonna make a joke, but I forgot what the line was. What was the horrible thing IGN said about that Miles Morales game?
Oh God.
What was it? Oh, it was like the exaggerated swagger of a young black man or something.
Yeah,
that's something horrible.
That was great.
That's like,
that was amazing that IGN
that writer probably thought they were a fucking poet coming up with that one.
Like, let's say he has swagger. No one's ever said that about black kids before.
Oh god. Okay.
Don't they have people who edit that or like review it before they put it out?
Probably 2 or 3 people.
Like, it's a billion-dollar corporation. You can't have someone just read it and be like, this doesn't seem right.
That or the culture there is not good.
Jesus.
Oh, they weren't busy being paid out for their sevens or whatever people think happens there. Yeah, so just some other ideas for like next year. So this was something I guess not really. I guess it would be for next year. Oh, the porn sites are back. I thought I blocked you. For next year. Okay, so this was something that I had floated out to other people before. No, just block them. Stop airing out. Okay, I'm gonna put them in timeout then if you're gonna air out. I'd put out there for next year. Is the idea of somebody made a comment. It was after the Jay versus Austin match that just went up, and both of them like jokingly they were kind of going back and forth, and they were like, "Bro, this was like the best match of the year, like match of the year right here." And there was kind of a joke discussion of like an awards, like if you were given an award, like like match of the year, right? Is that something people would be interested in? The idea of like creating a couple arbitrary awards and just like
honestly, I think
giving people the ego boost.
I think it could be kind of fun. Not that certain people in our community need the ego boost.
No, not at all. The problem is Henry's too good at this. Like Henry and Jay alone are going to take up a handful of slots, and that's just not
100%. You know what? Okay, so how many producers do you have again?
So the technically the producers would be so there's the hosting team, which is about 6 of you, I think, and then the actual producers from the jump board: Matt, Henry, Poss, and Papa.
Okay, so here's a small. So this is. I feel like what we could do is we could just kind of run it like. Yeah, I was about to say. I was about to say what Tato just said in the comments, like a Dundies sort of thing from The Office, where it's just like the most arbitrary. Like, sure, you have the more like official ones, like all right, match of the year, player of the year, comeback of the year, whatever other ones that you want to come up with.
Are you trying to get yourself an award there? Okay,
I'm just putting it in a little bit.
Okay,
but then you can also have just like funniest argument of the year or like moment of the year sort of thing, and then just have it like, and then you don't even have just the judges or anyone like vote.
No, you can do it publicly. Just put it up.
Do it publicly. Like just have people vote on it and say which one do you guys think is this. I think Schmodown did that for a while, right? Where they were like, all right, vote for who the heel of the year was.
They did do that, but that's yeah.
They also had funding, but we can do that on a much smaller
scale. Not a lot as we saw, but they did have funding.
Well, yeah. But I mean, I think it could just be like a nice little fun thing to do at some point.
Maybe I'll look at it. I'd have to think about. You're right. We should probably take that to like the chat and be like, hey. What are some fun awards ideas? Like if we were to do an awards, like obviously, like best match, best performance, I guess if you wanted to, overall player of the year, comeback, like there's some fun ones you could put out there. But yeah, you're right. We can come up with some joke ones.
We can figure out the nomination.
Chris does have a point though. If anybody missed his match versus John Marr, I gave them an Ube Bowl question, and it led to one of the weirdest debates I've seen in a while.
See, like there you go. So those kind of things would genuinely be a lot of fun, because then you kind of could go back and like revisit things and be like, wow, that was really just
like what the hell happened? How did this even? Because I know there's matches that I haven't fully seen. Because like I'll just be honest, when I'm not there for something, unless it's like a case of like the recording is short enough that I can kind of jump through it, I'll have the host take notes on like where edits need to be made, and I just edit those parts. So I'm more guilty, truthfully, of watching the conversation that I'm editing out of the episode than I am actually watching the episode, because I'm just like, what did I need to edit here? What is this? Which my favorite is Jacob, who will do an arbitrary, because like for people who don't know, when I like end the match, there's like that slight jump between like when the match ends and when I announce the winner. And what I'm doing there, for anyone who's ever wondered when we're recording, is I'm inputting just quick stats that I may forget to otherwise because I'm in the moment and I'm thinking about it. So I'm like updating their records. I'm updating the schedule. If there's like a match that the winner was going to play, I'm just updating it. I'm inputting into my like editing notes like what needs to be edited. So it's all just stuff that I think of in the moment that
it's production
takes no
stuff.
Yeah, it takes no more than 10 minutes, but I'd probably forget if I didn't do it then and there. So I'm doing it then and there. And it just lets people.
The amount of conversation that happens between
you'd be shocked the things that have been said, and so it just gives people a breather to kind of just hang out and talk. If what'd you say?
I said I'd be canceled about 8 times over if those conversations were aired.
Yeah, no, it's horrible. Do you want a dirt I could keep on people if I just didn't delete the footage? You're welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I deleted it all.
Yeah.
My hard drive doesn't have that much storage, so so that's what I'm doing. Papa will stop the video in the exact same manner that I will to like keep the edit looking consistent, and then we'll take about 2 minutes to be like, right, so judges, you can leave. This is where Aaron usually does his thing. I don't know what the fuck he does, but he does his thing. He'll just sit for like 2 minutes and then be like, all right, let's go.
I don't know if this is necessary or not. He's just
he's like, I'm doing it to be consistent. Him and Chad is the other one, which I don't remember which match it was, but one of the matches that Chad hosted, there was a legitimate like 2 minute long conversation where they all were like, what does he do in those 2 minutes? Like, what is he? Mostly jokes. I think they were just trying to crack the best joke, but it's like, okay, like that I'll watch because it's funny to see like what people are doing. That and those are like the best moments of the show sometimes are the things you don't see, man. Like what keeps me entertained while I'm like producing the show behind the scenes. I'm sure the few you've hosted, you can attest to this when you have like the power to see behind the scenes. It's watching how people react to things.
It's nuts.
It's honestly, so funny.
It's hilarious, but it's so funny.
It is. Like watching how people react to things, because again, the judges aren't on screen. They're not the ones being recorded, but watching them react to certain things. Like if you've ever in a video seen me be like, hey, judges, don't just let the initial answer get at you. It's because someone behind the scenes has done something that makes me worry.
Someone says something and they're just like, what?
Someone's had a reaction where it makes me have to instinctually go like, hey, don't discredit them. Hear them out. It's wild.
As someone who's hosted, when you can see everyone on the bottom of the screen,
it's so funny.
It's like, oh, they're backstage, and you see their faces when someone says something ridiculous. Like that could have been a fucking screenshot or a GIF or whatever.
And and the thing is, most people don't think about the fact that like they can be watched if I want to.
Every time I'm backstage, I'm just focused on what I'm supposed to be doing, and then I know I've done something dumb where I'm just like, what did this guy just say?
The one thing I can genuinely say in all my times of people watching, the one thing I can genuinely say has never happened is no one has accidentally exposed themselves. Because we all know it's the unwritten rule. Oh, good.
I was worried about that for myself, honestly.
It's the unwritten rule of the internet that we all know that we've done a video with no pants on at some point. It's the unwritten rule. And so nobody's ever shown out, which is beautiful. That's a different type of blackmail.
One of my favorite things that I've seen is, I don't remember who it was, but someone's backstage and they're just getting attacked by their dog. Like their dog is just going, I want to play, and like jumping all over them, and they're like trying to hold their whiteboard like this.
You know who might be the MVP of backstage antics? Alec Miller's son. Because every once in a while, if he's judging, you'll just see his son run in, or you're like, because obviously I can't hear the audio, but like Alec will be like taking notes, and then like for a split second, you'll just see him look behind him, and it's like, oh, what does kid do now?
That and like Alan Shepard with like the random animals that he has at his place.
Yeah,
like every time he'll just like show me a chicken that's just chilling out on his.
There was what was it?
What the hell is going on?
There was one match, I forget what it was. We recorded it at like in the middle of the afternoon, and Alan agreed to judge it. So it's probably like the ass crack of dawn for him in Hawaii. Yeah. And every single time we'd go to like judges would go to the back, Alan would like turn to a position that was probably clearly more comfortable for wherever he was sitting, and you just see the sun rising behind him. But then he'd like go to judge, so he'd turn back so it's not in the background, like beaming in on the camera. But it's like that's again like just the little things you don't think about that are going on.
In Hawaii, of all places, I have to sit here looking at -30 weather every day, and then I think about Alan living in Hawaii, and I'm just like, "Fuck you, Alan."
Alan's best view is outside his bedroom window. What's your guy's best view? A large plastered poster of that Trudeau picture, or
Pornhub.com. I mean, sorry. Yes, that's the correct answer. What you just
said. Correct. That Trudeau photo.
That's the Trudeau photo.
That is. As long as you don't pay for it. That's and of course
we're
talking
about the Trudeau in Canada.
That's
We're socialist up here.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So the awards idea is something that's worth looking at. Maybe we'll do it. We'll figure out something.
I feel like what could happen, like we put a poll up and say, all right, things that you guys want to see get nominated or have a particular award for that we have to look for. So whatever you guys can think of, we can like try and make it work.
Come up with something, yeah.
And then
so the other idea that was like that I've like floated out there, because for anyone who's been a part of the show since the beginning, around the same time that we relaunched Movie Battleground, we ended another show that we used to do called After Dark, which you were a part of a handful of times.
Yep.
And it was essentially, the way that I would describe it, it was essentially a podcast show that we could never figure out what the fuck to do with it. Would be the best way to describe it, because it started out as one thing, and by the time Matt and I decided to end it, it was a completely different thing, and we just could never figure out how to make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Matt and I have discussed multiple times about the idea of doing some sort of like just a casual discussion show, because I feel like, especially with like Battleground basically being the main thing on the channel at this point, we still have Colton, who does his show on mostly a weekly basis, where he talks about a lot of geek stuff with Robert Kastner, and sometimes Amaru shows up, and like that's they do a lot of fun. I've been on a couple of times. They do.
So, by the way, if you guys haven't watched it, check it out.
Yeah, no, they have genuine. They're both very knowledgeable guys, and they have good discussion. And I love Colton. He has I've never said this to him, but if he watches this, he'll learn. He has a very genuine enthusiasm about the things that he enjoys.
His passion is genuine.
It makes it so, like, I love watching people like that talk about things when there's a clear passion behind what they're discussing.
Yeah.
So we've thrown around the idea of like doing a casual show. And like one of the ideas I've thought of is like not making a show about Movie Battleground, because the idea of making a discussion show about a discussion show sounds fucking stupid. Like that sounds like back when I forget the name of the company, but it was the one that Schmoes were involved with. Like they used to do after shows for like every show that aired at 8 o'clock on television.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, what the fuck is why do you want to watch people talk about something you can just go watch? Just watch it.
Yeah, just
like
go watch. Yeah.
But I have thought about the idea of like, rather than like doing a show where there's an arbitrary focus, doing like a casual discussion show and using the basis to build it being like Battleground matches to an extent. So like if we have some type of recurring crew, it would be like the people who work behind the scenes on the show. And like in terms of bringing people on, using what matches are coming and uploading on that week, and reaching out to those people and seeing would they want to be a part of it, and using that as a way to sort of rotate people in and out. But I just know, like, again, this is not any type of official thing. It's more just speaking out loud at this point. But like Matt and I have had that discussion of like, we'd love to have some type of conversational show back, because I think it was just nice to like talk, but also like, as we discussed, right, like the moments that are cut from matches, there's a lot of really fun discussion that happens. And with Battleground, you're constantly getting a varied set of people in there. So using that as some type of platform to try and create something, I think could be interesting.
I mean, even if it's just like what we're doing for the last hour and a bit of just like shoot the shit on, like, obviously there's some things that you wanted to discuss and I'm just kind of here to bounce ideas off of.
Yeah.
But like, even if it was just something like, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, something like that, where it's just like random topics, you talk about it for that much time and then like discuss what your thoughts are. And it
Because
doesn't
like
have to be like,
truthfully, we tried doing like towards the end of After Dark like a full-on movie news thing, and I think the only
it didn't
problem with
really.
doing
Yeah.
that, as I learned relatively quickly, is you you want to pick out news stories that engage people, but you also want to pick out things that are interesting to talk about. And so there's kind of this weird balance of like some
What
story
gets
might be
views, what gets
huge, but
this,
not
or that.
everybody gives a shit. Yeah, like okay, like for example, like and I think you were a part of it, right? Like we did an episode where the entire thing was just breaking down the Ray Fisher shit. The
Yeah.
DCEU would be like the fucking dude. Hold up,
This
let's talk about that
whole
for a second.
okay.
What are your thoughts? We'll talk about that for a second. What are your thoughts?
So I don't think I've hidden this, but I actually have liked what the DCEU has done so far.
Okay.
Um,
So hold up. Before you get into your, let's just do a quick rundown of like positive, mediocre, negative. Okay, because the DCE. So Man of Steel.
I really liked.
Okay, I think it's fine, but it's on the positive for me.
Okay.
BVS.
See, that one's where it gets weird because there's the theatrical version, which I thought was okay, and then
Okay.
the extended director's cut, which I thought was a much better film.
Okay.
So
I
again,
was
it's like middle to positive for me, but
right.
still.
I was not a fan at all of BVS, and I saw it twice in theaters. I gave it a second chance. Not a fan at all. I own the other cut only because my brother bought it and it's a part of our collection. I have not yet seen it.
I would recommend the extended one.
I'm probably honestly waiting for like if I ever do a rewatch for whatever reason of those films, because it's been a few years since I've seen Man of Steel 2. I'd probably just watch that version of it to give it a chance.
Nope, that's fair. The extended one for me is a much better film. So I
okay, that's what I've heard. I've heard that 30 minutes does a lot for it, and there's like a re-editing of certain stuff. And
yeah,
what was Suicide Squad?
Fuck off.
Yeah, okay, boom. Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, I loved. Honestly,
yeah,
I thought
it's
Wonder
probably
Woman
the best of them.
Of all of them, yeah. Wonder Woman is a phenomenal film.
Justice League, and I guess we'll stick with the theatrical one for now.
When I first saw it, I was just excited to see all the characters from my childhood on screen, and then I watched it again, and I was like, "This is really just a janky movie." Like like the CGI was questionable at times for a big budget movie like that. It was weird. The tone was all over the place, and yeah, not great.
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing with Justice League is like, and obviously because I pay attention to movie news and all that,
rushed it for sure.
It's like I was aware of the issues with the movie that happened going into it. They did rush it 100%.
Yeah.
I was aware of what had happened going into the film. I was really unaware, or I guess it was just incredibly obvious to me, and I don't know if it's because I was aware of the issues or not. Like you could almost sort of pick out what was reshoots and what wasn't, because like depending on, I mean, there's obviously there's the obvious stuff.
Different.
Like there's the obvious stuff, right? Like the mustache gate and all that type of stuff. Yeah. But like okay, Affleck, we're not even talking about the suit, right? In some scenes, he's Batman from Batman v Superman, and in some scenes, it's almost like Bruce Wayne is being directed to be like Affleck's take on Iron Man. Like he's kind of filling that role.
I felt like they just had Joss Whedon like, "All right, you did Avengers, do it again," and like not taking into account that there's a very big difference between the two universes. Mm-hmm. But when looking back at it, it gets worse for me because I'm just like, oh, it's very obvious which scenes were not supposed to be in the original cut, and they just added in after,
right.
Unfortunately, Zack Snyder's daughter passed away.
Yeah, and can I just say, because obviously the internet culture that's developed around Snyder and like people calling it the Justice League and all this type of stuff. Okay, to speak on Joss Whedon personally, if the guy is as bad as people have said he is, there's no defending that, especially the stuff when it comes to women. Like there's no defending any of that. If he's a horrible person, he's a horrible person. I've never met him, so I can't judge in that sense. The discourse around his actual involvement with this movie, though, I think has hit sort of a different, like, people seem to think that like his intent with this movie was to just completely throw away everything Snyder did. I don't think people realize that Whedon was basically a studio gun. Like he was not brought in for his artistic vision.
That the movie ended up that
Yeah.
way. I mean, there was some point of it.
To a degree. Obviously, he oversaw the day-to-day, and so there's stuff that you can argue
but there were still guys who are higher up who were like, all right, we want to see this. We want to. I mean, I remember that report we talked about
hired because he had done Avengers, and like people seem to forget that like Whedon was hired because he had made a movie like this that was incredibly successful, and the studio basically took advantage of Snyder's daughter passing away to force a change into their universe because they sensed the direction it's going was not working, which is far shittier than any type of bad movie that Whedon could have directed.
If we look at like what's happened with the DCEU in the last like little while here, it's very obvious that they didn't have good leadership.
No, not at all.
Throughout the entire thing, right? I mean, you can't have the movies go this. They were basically just like, oh, let's just copy what Marvel's doing without actually having their own ideas or anything that they wanted to do.
But it's like if the MCU,
let's just try and make money.
But it's like if the MCU did, like the MCU's release order was like Iron Man, Civil War with like nothing else established, Suicide Squad, Black Widow, Avengers, and it's like, what the fuck was
like it doesn't make sense. There was a way that they could have done it, and they obviously didn't do that. They were just like, all right, how do we make the most money?
Probably more equated to Wonder Woman.
Yeah, superhero shared universes are making money. Let's just do that. And then they didn't actually put thought into it, which, well, whatever.
So then I guess moving on, Aquaman.
Aquaman I thought was okay.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. I enjoyed parts of it. I think that the issue that I had with it was I really enjoyed the Marianas Trench sequence. Yes. I really enjoyed Jason Momoa's performance. I think the biggest part of it that I didn't like was the two villains that we had.
They're just so underdeveloped.
Like they're like,
and see, I'm probably a little more negative than you. And to be fair, it has nothing to do with Momoa as an actor, because if Dune has anything to prove, it's that Momoa is a good actor.
Him and the Apple show. If you guys haven't,
I've heard he's excellent. Yeah, It's nothing to do with him. I am not a fan of like surfer bro douche Aquaman, like this direction they've decided to take the character.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It feels like Thor from Love and Thunder on crack steroids. Like I don't. Okay. And it doesn't help that his love interest has less chemistry with him than she does the bed she shit on. Like it is absolutely.
That was the best day of that bed's life. Okay.
Probably. But there are people who would pay for what that bed went through.
I think, Jason Momoa. I think if you ask anybody, he's a phenomenal actor who's just
he's very good.
Gotten the best work. I mean, Game of Thrones, he was only in one season, and he was a wonderful part of that first season. Conan, I think there was a lot of other issues with. But then you see stuff like Bullet to the Head, which is like an underseen movie, and he has an axe fight with Sylvester Stallone, and it's phenomenal. Yeah. And then there's other stuff that he's done that he's really good in.
And he's still like in a movie where on paper he's like 10th in most talented actors in that film. He steals the show in Dune.
Oh my God.
He really does.
He was I've read the book, so I knew what was going to happen, but I was like the entire time, you have Timothée Chalamet, you have Josh Brolin, you have Javier Bardem, you have
Oscar Isaac,
you have Rebecca Ferguson,
Stellan.
All these other brilliant actors, and Jason Momoa is the guy. I'm like, this guy's
that's the guy. Like, yeah,
it was very much of a long shot, but I was like, if there's best supporting actor for anyone in this film,
it's him.
I would go with him, and that's with Stellan Skarsgård giving a great haunting performance. That's with Oscar Isaac being Oscar Isaac.
Yeah, Oscar was also great, but
Javier Bardem being absolutely brilliant. All of these other like
Zendaya being in a perfume commercial.
Yeah. What is the who's the actress who plays the high priestess for the Bene Gesserit?
Oh, that's a great question.
She's the one right at the beginning of the movie asking Chalamet to put his hand in the box. I can't remember what her name is off the top of my head right now.
I don't want to get it wrong. I'm thinking of an old woman, Charlotte Rampling.
That's who it is. Charlotte Rampling is an all-time great actress.
Yes.
And although she had less to do, Jason Momoa is still the best performance in that film by a lot. So I liked Aquaman. I thought it was fine. I think there's the CGI of it I thought was much better than I thought it would be, because CGI doing underwater stuff is incredibly
hard.
difficult.
It's very hard.
Like we don't really think about it, but like anything to do with water and CGI, computers can't handle it. Like it's such a huge thing.
Because you're having to create an entirely CG environment essentially and light it in such a way that you can also kind of get what you need to see out of it. And you're right. And they work with different, as you said, like Atlantis to the Mariana Trench, two very different types of design, but they both work.
So I mean, and they're not James Cameron. James Wan's a great director, but he's not James Cameron, who can spend visually 13 years researching how water works to make a film. Like they did a really good job with a lot of aspects of that movie. Just the villains brought it down quite a bit, and Amber Heard is, I guess, an actress.
Dude, can I just say, if anyone was going to be as big of a piece of shit, I'm so glad it's somebody who wasn't a good actress.
Right? Like everything I've seen her in, I'm just like, okay, like, yeah, she's attractive, but what else does she bring to this table?
She was horrible in Magic Mike 2, a movie in which nobody was trying, and you still stand out as not good.
Yeah, like that's the one upside to the whole DCEU resetting, is they're just like, so we can get rid of Amber Heard now, and like go with someone else. Everyone who's like, get Emilia Clarke in there is like, oh, we can now. We don't have to worry about it.
I'd like to see her also give a good performance in something, but hey, that's a different story.
I'm telling you, man, you got to watch Game of Thrones.
That's the one. That's the one I keep hearing. But like,
and then there's that like rom-com that she did with. I
wasn't a fan of Last Christmas.
Not Last Christmas. The one where she's like falls in love with
the wheelchair suicide one.
Yeah.
That
one. That
one's fine. Yeah, she wasn't bad. You're right. Okay, she wasn't.
She just needs better scripts. Honestly, like that Terminator movie, terrible.
Fuck.
But not because of her. Just
no.
The movie shouldn't have happened.
No, nobody looked good in that movie. Even good actors didn't look like the fact that like Jai Courtney and Emilia Clarke led that had nothing to do with why it was bad. JK looked bored, and he's a fucking Oscar winner. Like, but yeah. So, anyways, the gist of, because like everything else after that's just like Shazam is good.
Shazam, I really enjoyed.
Birds of Prey is good.
Yeah, it's good. It has its
Wonder
moments.
Woman 84 was. Yeah. Suicide Squad was. I wasn't as big a fan of it as others, but I liked it.
I really enjoyed the Suicide Squad, and then I will.
And Peacemaker's excellent.
Peacemaker is really good.
Because my only reservation about the Suicide Squad was, I think they almost went too hard R, if that's a thing. Like it felt like the way that I described it to my brother when we saw the movie was like, James Gunn has spent the last few years making Marvel films where he's been like kept under lock and key in terms of his humor. Yeah. And this feels like when you release a kid into the candy store, he's just going for everything. So you end up with
for him, honestly.
And so for me, it's like you end up with jokes like, I would suck every dick in America if it meant freedom. And it's just like, okay, guys, come on.
I think this is probably not.
But Peacemaker was a marketed improvement for me. I thought Peacemaker was brilliant.
Absolutely phenomenal.
That was. If anything comes out of this, can we just get more of that? Because that was fucking.
See, I don't even know if they're going to continue with Peacemaker now because of
it's so let's talk. So what? So it's at this point the only person who's still left from Justice League is nobody really knows what's up with Gal Gadot, but you'd assume if Patty Jenkins is out.
Patty Jenkins is out, and they're saying they're not continuing with Wonder Woman the same way. I feel like she's out too.
So, and all that's left is Aquaman, which unless Aquaman 2 makes like $1 billion, I don't see that continuing.
Honestly, I don't think they're keeping anybody. I think they're resetting everything and then just
legitimately the only two things I would keep, because like even the most recent stuff, right? Like I wouldn't keep Black Adam around. I don't think that movie was good enough.
Maybe in like Shazam 3.
Maybe, but my thing is, and this is just me from if I'm thinking from a producer's point of view, I wouldn't want to work with The Rock. Like if everything that's come out about how he handled producing Black Adam is true, and like he wanted Henry Cavill so bad that he went above Walter Hamada's head to get approval from somebody who didn't care as much, and like use that as the reason to shoot the scene with him. Like I wouldn't want to work with the guy who's willing to do that. You know what I mean?
I think.
Especially if you're Gunn, who's like trying to assume control of a mangled beast like this. Like I wouldn't want to do that.
I wouldn't want someone to do that, but also I feel like Gunn would be the kind of guy in this scenario where if The Rock would be like, hey, I want to put Superman at the end and tease a Superman versus Black Adam thing, Gunn would be like, oh, fuck yeah, let's do it. You know?
True.
Like,
but they have to get an actor because obviously Henry's done, so you have to get
Henry is unfortunately done now. But I think
which for anyone, I do want to put there for anyone out there who, again, if you get this far in the video, congratulations. For anyone out there who may be feeling any type of way about, oh, he left The Witcher to be Superman and now he's not Superman. Those are not mutually exclusive. Read into what's going on with The Witcher a little more. He had beef with people behind the scenes on that show. His exit as Geralt has nothing to do with Superman. It's just unfortunate that both roles ended about the same time.
Yeah. I will say before someone gets this in the comments, Geralt, not Geralt.
Geralt, I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah. I've never played the game. That was just shot in the dark.
Nope, that's fine.
Geralt. Okay.
Most people who haven't seen the show or played the game don't know what it is. Like, oh, he's leaving The Witcher. Now the lesser Hemsworth is coming in. Which,
dude, can I just say, talk about Liam Hemsworth is not a great actor to begin with. Having to replace Henry Cavill, fuck.
I honestly am willing to. I'm a fan of The Witcher, like the books, the games, everything.
So you'll give it a chance?
I'm giving him a shot. I'm giving him a season.
I hope this is his star-making turn. I hope he's excellent.
I honestly hope he's really good at it.
I mean, when's the last time Liam Hemsworth was in anything?
I don't think he's been good in anything, though. That's the thing. Like,
when's the last time he was in anything to begin with? Like, what's the last movie he was in? Can anyone?
Expendables 2? No, there's got to be something.
There was at least a Hunger Games film after that.
I don't know. I'm not. I'm never gonna quote myself as a Liam Hemsworth stan.
No one is. Let's be real here.
No,
nobody was Team Gale when it came to the Hunger Games. Okay.
Nobody outside of Miley Cyrus was into it.
And even she's not a fan anymore. So
I can't keep up with this stuff anymore. Okay, hang on. Let me go through his.
I have Snapchat. That's the only. I read headlines, bro. I don't.
Okay, so he was in a rom-com called "Isn't It Romantic," which is apparently not.
Oh
bad.
Fuck, he was in that. Yeah, with Rebel Wilson.
Yeah.
That was okay. He was okay in that, yeah.
I don't want to say what his next movie was because it was just a hot piece of garbage. It was Independence Day Resurgence.
That's his second to last movie, really?
Oh, well, there's other small ones like he did.
Oh, okay. You're talking about movies we know. Yeah.
Yeah, like he did Poker Face with Russell Crowe earlier this year. Something called A Most Dangerous Game, but I have no idea what that is.
Oh, that was his Quibi show.
Oh, right. Okay.
And it got I read about this. Amazon picked up the rights to the Quibi show and just edited it because it's all 15-minute episodes, and they edited it into a movie and uploaded it to their service.
Well, that's why it's put as a movie now. Okay,
that's what it is. Yeah.
All right, I understand. He's done
which I heard that was okay.
Ones. And then there's the Hunger Games movies, and then before that, it was.
He had a couple of those.
Too, The Last Song, which is a rom-com with Miley Cyrus.
God, that movie sucks.
Empire State with The Rock back in 2013. And
Rock, bring him into the next
Nicolas Cage and Rose Byrne from way back when.
What movie was that?
It's called Knowing, starring Nicolas Cage.
Oh God,
Rose
like
Byrne,
the end of the world
Ben
one.
Mendelsohn, yeah.
Oh Jesus. Okay,
but he had a very small part in it. Like, this was way back at the beginning.
Needless to say, Liam Hemsworth's career is not something you aspire. Well, I mean, he made a lot of money, so maybe you do aspire to it. But
I feel like what it is he hasn't really had anything that has had a great script to it either. Now that I'm looking at them,
The Hunger Games is probably the best.
Hunger Games is probably the best, and people liked he was okay in it, but he's
it's not
also
bad.
stuck with a very boring written character as is. So I'm willing to give him a shot.
Yeah, you hope for the best there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what are your thoughts on the DC, like just everything that's happened over the last couple of weeks?
Okay.
As someone who was with the context being, it appears as though they're going to ground zero with this. Like you can almost in your head look at everything they're releasing next year and just go, it doesn't matter.
So the upcoming ones are what? So there's the Flash movie, which everyone is saying is probably going to be the reset of everything, right?
It's so what's left that's already been made is Joker
Aquaman
2. Joker 2, which is separate.
Joker and the Batman 2 are separate. So
but there's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, Shazam: Fury of the Gods, The Flash, and Blue Beetle.
Okay, so I'm actually excited about all 4 of those.
I hope they're good.
To be honest, like Blue Beetle, I'm excited about because it feels like it could be a really fun film. I mean, having essentially like a Miles Morales meets Venom / Iron Man
character situation,
is really cool, and I know I'm
excited about I butcher his name if I tried to say it, but the kid from Cobra Kai,
Sholo, I won't say his
it's
last
something
name.
Yeah,
something
people have said great. I've never seen the show personally, but a lot of people have had great things to say about his performance. So
yeah, so I mean that one I'm hyped for. I'm hoping that one's good. Shazam 2, you know what? If it's even a little bit as good as the first Shazam, I'm gonna enjoy it. Like I enjoyed the first Shazam more than I had.
Nothing makes me smile more than the fact that they picked a fucking 20-year-old Eminem song to stick into that trailer.
That's
like,
it's
why?
So funny. It's so funny.
That and the dumb fourth wall joke of I've seen every Fast and Furious movie. Helen Mirren.
Oh my god! As soon as he said that, I took my hat off and threw it on the floor. I was like, that is brilliant writing right there.
It's great, man.
Aquaman 2, sure, yeah. I mean, we'll see. I don't really know anything about what's going on in it, so we'll see what's happening.
I mean, it looks basically it's all the same cast as the first one because apparently both Yaya and Patrick Wilson are back in this movie.
Yeah.
I just hope they do because obviously at the time you couldn't have possibly known, but Yahya Abdul-Mateen II has grown into one of the best up and coming actors in Hollywood. Yeah. So to think how criminally wasted he was in that first film, you hope he's got something more to do this time around.
I hope so.
Because Patrick Wilson was not the right choice.
Patrick Wilson wasn't the right. Yeah, no, he's
good actor. But no,
I think it's just James Wan called him over and said, "Hey, come on in." And then the Flash is the one that I'm most curious about.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. Like the Ezra Miller stuff notwithstanding, but the fact that Michael Keaton's coming back, Ben Affleck is also in this movie.
We have
the idea of Flashpoint and then the whole thing. Supergirl is going to be in this movie. Like, there's so much in this movie.
So I missed this until the other day when I read it, and apparently it's true. Michael Shannon is back as Zod in this movie.
I mean, it makes sense in a certain way.
I don't know how big the role is, but he is in the film.
I feel like, okay, so how much do you know about the Flashpoint storyline?
I'm aware of the general outlier basics of it. He goes back in time to save his mom from dying, and that's what it is, right? And it's the chain of events that spawns essentially butterfly effect that spawns from that creates because that's where
it's a whole
is it Thomas Wayne Batman? That's where that comes from.
So Thomas Wayne is Batman instead of Bruce Wayne.
There's just a chain of events that changes.
Joker is Martha Wayne because she goes insane seeing her son die, and she becomes a Joker. So that's the whole thing that happens.
Oh, shit.
Aquaman and Wonder Woman go to war against each other.
Okay.
Which is a really crazy thing. And then Superman is never found because the government intervened and locked him up. Which I mean, they kind of touch in Man of Steel. Like, we expected someone to come take you away, but no one ever showed up. In this one, it'd be like, all right, someone showed up, and then now, So there could be so much happening in this film that is just like almost like a what if episode from Marvel. of like, all right, what if this happened? What if this happened? What if this happened? And it all
True.
technically would be plausible because it's a different universe or different timeline rather. So I'm excited to see it and I'm intrigued to see it. I just have no idea what they're going to do. And everything, like the fact that Ezra Miller has had so much going on who
would have thought the least interesting thing about Ezra Miller's 2022 would be the fact that Fantastic Beasts 3 came out.
I forgot about that movie. But no, like the fact that so much has come out and Warner Brothers has not moved at all on The Flash, like makes me feel like they're very much excited for it.
That or they've spent a lot of money.
Well, they've spent a lot of money, but even with them spending a lot of money, they've canceled Batgirl completely.
True.
They canceled other movies that were somewhat in development and tossed them out. So
my favorite of those was the Scoob sequel that they canned.
The
director did an interview and he was like, well, I mean, we got canceled and then we finished the movie, and they were like, the interview was like, what? And it was like, apparently because Warner Brothers had already given them all the funding they needed to finish the movie, they were given permission to finish the movie so that they could say they completed it.
And then
it was locked away.
It never sees the light of day.
And incinerated,
so they cancel all these other movies, and then The Flash is still coming out.
True.
And I mean, they still have time to reshoot things and like change Ezra Miller into some other guy or whatever.
Who would you cast? Because if Ezra Miller somehow appears in another film after this, I'd be shocked.
I don't think it'll be Ezra Miller. I feel like what's going to happen is he comes back to the regular timeline at the end of the film, or he comes back and like the timeline's all different, like because that's how they're going to get rid of everything. Because it just
it's an easy cop out. It's
an easy way to do it, right? And it doesn't make it too complicated. So I would put what's his name? The guy from 1917. The main actor.
George McKay?
That's him.
The one who survives.
The one who survives. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, George McKay.
So I would probably put someone like him, someone who's he's lesser known, but he still has like the ability and like the acting potential to be great in that role. I
like him. I like that pick.
Yeah, because you want someone younger, right? You want someone. True. And Ezra Miller was relatively unknown too before he got the Flash, and then
basically just Perks.
Yeah, Perks, and then like
because Fantastic Beasts hadn't happened yet when he got cast. So.
Right, exactly. So it was Perks, and then We Need to Talk About Kevin. I think was the only ones that he was.
Who would have thought that movie would be truer than?
So I would probably put like George McKay, or I'd put
another shout that I liked was someone Dylan O'Brien.
See, he's like the obvious like.
He'd be like the recognizable face for sure. Yeah, but I do think in terms of like,
and he'd be good,
the energetic, like what you want as a Flash, I think he could do it.
Yeah, I think
he's young still.
With him, or I would go with.
But George McKay is the less obvious one, which
George
I like.
McKay, I think it would be a really good choice because, first of all, he's British, so you know you can actually act, and then,
yes,
come on, man.
Like, no, you're not wrong. He's probably classically trained.
You can just look like Liam Hemsworth or Amber Heard, and you're an actor.
Well, Hemsworth's Australian, so.
Oh, come on. He's Australian. He had that leg up, but
he's got two more talented brothers, so that's.
Yeah. But George McKay, I would go with, and there was another guy that I was thinking of. He was in that skateboarding movie that Jonah Hill did.
Oh, the main kid.
Yeah,
right?
I think I've been playing God of War a lot recently, and he plays
the
son,
yeah.
And I can see a lot of potential for him being that actor. What's his name? Sonny something?
I got it. Sonny Soljic.
Yeah. So, and I think he's had a growth spurt, and he's taller now. So I definitely think he could be.
And he's actually young because George McKay is 30.
He looks 25.
He looks younger, but he's 30. Yeah. The one that I threw out, Dylan O'Brien's 31, so that they're around the same age. Sonny Soljic is 17, so he's still like.
So I honestly, he might be a little bit too young, not like
maybe.
17. but he's someone that I could see. Maybe not even as the main Flash, but there's like 30 different Flashes that you can
if the
have.
TV
like,
show's proven anything, we can find like
you can find a spot for him, and he's the other guy that I was thinking of that could be cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. Those are some good picks. So we'll go ahead and we'll start to wrap it up as we're coming up on the 2-hour thing. This was a lot of fun, and I just realized like a couple minutes ago, I was like, oh fuck, we're almost at 2 hours. This was a lot of fun. This certainly, I was just the two of us talking, but this does make me want to like look into finding some sort of way to bring back a casual conversation. I hope people enjoyed because this was like partially movie Battleground, but let's talk about the two matches that are going up tomorrow because why not? We'll wrap up with those. So the first matchup is going to be Richie Goodacre versus Jake Reese, or Jake Tato, lovingly to everybody else. Because I've learned the hard way that I'm the only person who uses his government name.
I didn't know his last name was Reese.
I did.
You told me.
I am the only person. Like I'll text Henry, someone who's friends with him, and he'll be like, "Oh, what's the matchup?" And I'll say like, "Oh, Richie Goodacre versus Jake Reese," and he'll be like, "Fucking who?" I'm like, "Jake Tato," and he goes, "Ah, okay."
Listen, you were the one who told me, like behind the scenes or something. I was like, "Who the fuck is Jake Reese? Like, who is this guy?" And it's like, "Oh, it's Tato," and I'm like, "Why are you calling him Jake Reese?" He's like, "That's his actual."
I use people's names. I don't.
What the fuck is that? His name is Tato. Everyone, I've always called him Tato or Jake.
No,
Tato.
you're right.
And
at this point, it's more for fun, but you're right.
It's honestly, I thought that was his legal name for the longest time. I don't know how long I've known him for, but it was like 3 months ago, not even 3 months ago, that you told me his last name was Reese, and I was like, this guy's just fucking around with me or something. But no,
Jake Tato. That's his birth.
Jake Tato is his official now birth name.
His full name is Jacob Potato.
Reese is a middle name that someone put in there. And then, yeah.
But so yeah, Jake and Richie will take each other on. Richie comes into this off the back of his first win. He was able to pull out a knockout win, which was big for him. Good confidence boost there. Jake comes into this. He is 0-4 to set this up. Currently, with the exception of our two players who are 0-1 because they only played one match, Jake is the only player in the league without a win. So if he gets this win tomorrow, it'll be very... Oh, the porn sites are back. I'm not going to bother blocking them at this point. So if he comes back, it'll be huge for him to get this win. Yeah. What are your thoughts on those two? We'll go ahead. We'll give you some free advertisement. 69 mega.
There you
we'll give
go.
You some free. There you go.
Such a wonderful message.
You only communicate in emojis, apparently.
People get lonely around the holidays.
What is this signifying? Mail order bride? What the fuck is with the
I think a crazy love connection through mail.
Or this one feels like you got the sweats after some good sex. Like I don't
hot thumb in your mouth. I don't know.
It's a thing. The kids are into
it. People are into weird things, man. They be pegging people out there.
They do.
So, who's it? Okay, Richie and Tato.
Jake and Richie.
So I honestly don't know because I think both of them are really fun to watch. Richie is hilarious, by the way. If you guys are in a town that he's performing in, I recommend like trying to go see him because I live on the other side of the planet, so I don't have a chance to go see him. But like he's a comedian. He's genuinely funny.
I've told him, like I've said, like even being friends with him on Facebook, like take the time to read like what he writes. His
posts are hilarious.
He will write about he'll be writing about something very serious because like for anyone who Richie's in a wheelchair, and from everything he said, it seems like the care for people in wheelchairs in Australia is just fucking the worst. And he will write about something that is genuinely serious to him and still find a way to put humor in it. Like he's a really good writer. Like
he's genuinely brilliantly funny.
He's very funny.
Putting him and Tato in a room together is honestly the funniest thing that I can think of.
Yeah.
And so I don't care who wins. I just want to watch. Like I don't even want you to edit it. I want you to show the whole thing. Like even when you do cut out that 10 minutes after the
just leave it at the end.
Just leave it and like let us all watch and enjoy the chaos that comes from whatever conversation is.
I'd have to make sure nothing horrible was said, but other than
I mean, it's unlikely that nothing horrible will be said or was said, but I still would love to see it. It's I for the joke, I hope Tato loses just so you can stay without a win. But also, Tato, come on, man, I love you. I want you to get this win. Although if you say that Thanos should be the one who got high, you would get high with, then you're gonna lose. I'm sorry.
Take the L. But and then we'll follow that up with the title match. Henry Sanchez, the current 2-time defending champion, going for his 3rd defense against Amaru Moses, who is challenging for the title. Both of these guys, Amaru won the little summer tournament we did in the summer. He is currently 7-1. With his big thing going into this is, I believe if I have my numbers correct, it's he has played a grand total in 8 matches that he's played. He has played 6 blind rounds, and he has won 5 of those 6. So he is immense in the blind round. Henry Sanchez, obviously 2-time defending champion. He beat Joe Fairley to get it. He beat me to defend. He beat Chad Webb to defend. He's also just an immense player. He is 8-1 with 2 knockouts. What are your thoughts? Who do you think takes that? If you had to how do you pick one?
I'm not falling for that trap. Listen, I'm friends with both of those guys. I'm not splitting my luck either way. I'm going 50-50. I hope it ends in a draw.
We have 2 champions.
We have 2
They're going to continue next year. They're going to square off again.
Those 2 are genuinely both very good competitors. Henry does play a bit more of a psychological game than Rue does. Where he tries to figure out how to get in their head and get them off balance and things, which he's really good at, evidently. But Rue also is just someone who's really smart and knows his stuff and can back up anything he says. He does his research on everything too. Genuinely, probably, I don't want to disrespect anyone else who's played against Henry, but probably his toughest matchup to date, I would say.
As one of those players, yes, 100%.
Yeah, Joe is fantastic.
And Rue's beat Joe too. He's the only other person. Him and Henry are the 2 that have beaten Joe. So, which is immense.
Honestly, this could go either way, and if it goes to the blind round, I wouldn't be surprised. Because both. Oh no, championship you don't do blind round, do you? You do the.
You do both. So it's 4 questions and then 2 blind rounds, and then the speed round is the sudden death. Yeah.
Right. Right. That's what. Sorry, I was thinking it was the other way around. So yeah, no, this one honestly could go the entire length, and I wouldn't be surprised because both of these guys know how to bring it, and that'll be one I'll make sure I haven't watched a match in a long time. That one I'm watching for sure, just to see the intensity.
Absolutely. Well, guys, you can tune in tomorrow to check those out. Obviously, if you're watching this on Tuesday, December 20th or later, they are already up on the channel, so go check them out. But they will be up tomorrow. With that said, though, Mehdi, I want to thank you for joining. This was a lot of fun just to kind of sit down and chat and kind of go over some things before the end of the season. But on behalf of everyone involved with the show, we will see you guys tomorrow. My name is Aaron Knoll. Take care.